Cutting straight across to these live images that we are getting to you of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi with his Japanese counterpart, Yoshihide Suga. Another crucial bilateral meeting which is aimed at arriving at common ground before the all-important quadrilateral summit that is to take place between the leaders of the US, India, Australia and Japan. The two leaders of India and Japan posing for that photo op right before they hold those discussions on a wide range of issues. Like we were discussing just a short while back, the issue of dealing with the China threat remains one of the key aspects to be watched out when it comes to these discussions between Prime Minister Modi and Yoshihide Suga. Remember, this meeting coming at a very important time when Yoshihide Suga's tenure as the Prime Minister is also coming to an end. Overall, this meeting will largely focus on taking forward the partnership between India and Japan on multiple fronts. A free and open Indo-Pacific remains the top priority for both sides. They have stressed on the importance for engagement and partnership on the same. When it comes to the engagements that the Indian Prime Minister has already participated in, be it meeting with the top 5 CEOs of global companies, be it a meeting Vice President Kamala Harris, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, and now Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. Overall, India aiming to boost ties with the Quad groupings countries right before the Quad summit that is lined up for tomorrow. Remember, the Quad summit will be taking place after the Indian Prime Minister meets US President Joe Biden as well. So that's going to be another crucial engagement to be watched out for multiple reasons, particularly given the times that we live in at this point. All of these meetings carry far-reaching implications for geopolitics, talking about the alliances that are being reshaped at this point, dealing with the China threat, that's the dragon in the room. For both India and Japan, that's a huge focus area. And like we were discussing just a short while back with our correspondents on the ground as well, the two sides, India and Japan, will hope to take that partnership forward, discuss common ground when it comes to dealing with the China threat. That remains the dragon in the room. Talking also about the emphasis that has been laid by both India and Japan when it comes to dealing with the challenges posed by the ever-changing equations. This meeting is going to be taking place in the backdrop of the AUKUS alliance that was announced as well. We have been getting you perspectives on whether or not the AUKUS alliance impacts India in any way, to what extent. Will this mean a balancing act for India? It is going to be a huge challenge, specifically when it comes to dealing with ties with Australia, France. The trilateral between India, France and Australia will also be impacted. The significance of the bilateral between the Indian and the Japanese leaders has been stressed upon for multiple reasons, particularly when it comes to the shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Apart from that, the issue of climate change that has already been highlighted by the Indian Prime Minister and also by the leaders that he has interacted with already, be it the Australian Prime Minister or Vice President Kamala Harris. Urgency to tackle the climate change threat remains a cornerstone of these discussions that have taken place already and are yet to take place, with the Indian Prime Minister holding back-to-back meetings and crucial engagements that are lined up with global leaders. Remember, this is a 3-day jam-packed United States visit for the Indian Prime Minister. He is also set to address the United Nations General Assembly's 76th session. Before that address, he is taking part in bilateral engagements. First, he took part in the bilateral meeting, held that bilateral meeting with the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison. That was preceded by meetings with the top 5 global CEOs. Next, he interacted with the American Vice President Kamala Harris, calling each other natural allies, true friends. Kamala Harris in that joint statement also reiterated America's emphasis on the relationship with India on multiple fronts: COVID-19 crisis, the vaccine diplomacy initiative, vaccine Maitri initiative by India, when it comes to that partnership as well. Our correspondent Siddhant Sibul has been tracking all those developments very closely. Is now joining us live on the broadcast. Like we were discussing just a short while back, Siddhant, dealing with the China threat and emphasizing on that shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific remain the key areas to be closely watched as part of those discussions between the Indian and the Japanese leaders. What is the sense that you've got so far, the perspective that you've got and the information that you have been getting in through your sources of the key outcomes that are expected? This, of course, is a bilateral aimed at finding common ground right before the Quad summit lined up for tomorrow.
Well, yes, this meeting happening in the eve of the all-important Quad in-person meeting, but the Indian Prime Minister finally meeting the Japanese Prime Minister. Both countries have been engaging with each other. Yes, the new Prime Minister Suga didn't had much of time in terms of his foreign policy, given the fact that he was involved a lot when it comes to domestic situation. We know the situation as when it comes to the Japanese politics. He won't be the Prime Minister very soon, but despite that, he is here. One of the primary reasons is that, as they say in democracy, prime ministers come and go. It is the strong relationship between the two countries that is and should be the factor of stability. Earlier, we know the good and the strong camaraderie the Indian Prime Minister and the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe had. Both had been engaging with each other, and Japan, of course, is the only of two countries along with Russia that India share the annual summit level mechanism, under which a summit between the two countries alternates every year, whether it's Russia, whether it's Japan. India also has 2+2 partnership with the Japanese at the defense and the foreign ministry level. But at the entirety of the relationship, it is basic how the Japanese investment can come to India, how the Japanese know-how can help India. The Japanese have been involved in bullet train. Japanese have been involved in mega infrastructure projects. Connectivity, of course, is one of the key focus areas. The Japanese have been involved in a lot of connectivity projects in India's northeast, connectivity projects that is connecting that part of India with India's neighbors like Bangladesh, and of course bringing prosperity. Japan is key stakeholder in the Indo-Pacific. It has been engaging with New Delhi a lot. Both countries are hopeful that they can fight the common challenges, whether it's the COVID crisis or the Chinese aggressiveness together. We know that when it comes to Japanese, it is the Senkaku Island issue that has been the cause of concern. The Chinese trying to take over those islands. With India, it is the line of actual control issue. The Chinese trying to create problems in India's borders, whether it's with the Union Territory of Ladakh or other parts of India. So it's a common challenge when it comes to dealing with China. But this meeting, which has happened, the in-person meeting, provides an occasion to review the relationship, a relationship which is multifaceted. And of course, there has been engagement, whether it's people to people, whether it is other areas, infrastructure projects. Now the focus, of course, is to make sure that how both countries can work together in the Indo-Pacific, whether through multiple plurilaterals or whether through Quad. One of the trilateral both countries share is with Australia, and under that the alternate supply chain initiative is the key focus, how there can be supply chains which are not excessively dependent on China.
Right, we're leaving it there for the moment, Siddhant, but of course coming back to you as and when we have further updates on that meeting between the Indian and the Japanese leaders. Thanks. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.